All right, today we're going to construct scatter plots. We're going to put these scatter plots together, and then we are going to answer questions that relate to the data that we graphed. So let's get started graphing these points. We know that the number of weeks is our X, and the words per minute is our Y. So if you need to, please label your axis X and Y so that you know which direction we're going to be working in. Okay, so our first point is going to be 1 and 220. So I'm going to come over to 1 and I'm going to go up to 220. Well, we know that 220 is probably right in front of that, or right before that 225. So I'm going to be roughly putting it here. I'm going to say 2 and 230. So over to 2 and up to 230. Well, 225, so 230's got to be slightly above that. 3 and 260, over to 3. And up to 260. Remember, we're making a guesstimate. 4 and 260, so 4 and 260 would be right around the same place. And then 5 and 280, so over 5 and up 280, so maybe right about here. Okay, so what type of association do we have? Positive, negative, or none? Well, the points look like they are increasing, so I'm going to say that's a positive type of association. Is the strength of the association strong or weak? Just looking at how our points are all on the graph, I would say that that is a strong association. They're clustered together. Is the scatter plot linear or nonlinear? Well, I could draw a line through that data, which we're going to be doing next time. Drawing a line through that data, I'm going to say that data is linear. It looks like it could be in a line. It doesn't curve. It looks like it could be in a line. Are there any outliers in this data? Outliers, anything that lies outside of that cluster of points? No. No outliers here. They look like they're all right about the same. Are there any clustering in this data? Now remember, clustering is if there is a group and then there's spaces and then there's another group. So I would say no, there aren't going to be any clusters in this example as well. Okay, let's go right into that first page of your assignment. We're going to do the first one together. Okay, so we know that distance from the goal line is going to be our X. So that's going to be our first row of data. And then the number of baskets is Y. Okay, so this is the distance that you stood away from the net. And then these are how many baskets you got standing at that particular distance. So let's go ahead and let's graph this one as well. So we have 14 feet. Now remember, we're counting here by twos. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So 14 comes between 12 and 16. And he made 4 baskets. So 14 and 4. Then we have 25 feet, so that would be slightly over, and 6 baskets. So 6, and I'm going to come over here to that 24. And I'm going to say it's probably right about there. 7 and 27, so 7 comes right before 8. And 27. Oops, sorry, wrong way. 27 first and then 8. So here's my 7. And I'm going to come across to 27. So that would be right about there. All right, then the next one is 15 feet and 11. So 15 would come right in front. And 11 baskets would be right here. And we have 15 and 11, so that would be right around here. And then we have 26 and 6, so 26 would be on that line, and 6, so that would be right about here. Then we would have 13 and 16, so over 13 and up 16. So 16 feet and up to 13, which would be right about here. And then we have 15 feet and 12. So 15 feet and 12 baskets. 12 baskets, that'd be right about there. Then we have 26 feet and 8 baskets, so 26. I'm going to go up here to 8. And then we have 16 feet and 14 baskets, so 16 feet and 14 baskets. And then 28 feet and 5 baskets. And that would be right about here. All right, so we're looking at our data. Now this is why it's called a scatter plot, because the points are everywhere on the graph. There's no set line here at all. But we need to make some observations. What type of association do you think you see on the scatter plot? And what other observations can you notice? And we can list these here. All right, so I'm looking at the data, and I think it goes down negative. I'm not looking at this point out here. We're going to get to that one in a minute. But if we look at our cluster here, and then our cluster below, it looks like it's falling in a negative direction. So I'm going to say that this has a negative trend. And I also notice that I have a gap here in my points. So I have points here, and I have points below. So I would say that there is a gap in the points. And do we have an outlier? Now remember, we discussed outliers. An outlier stands way outside of the data. And do we have an outlier there? Yes, we have an outlier. And that would be that point that's outside the realm of all of the other points. Okay, so let's just answer these questions. See if it's true or false. These are true or false. As the distance from the goal increases, the number of baskets decrease. So as my distance increases, so as I'm going to my right, my distance is increasing, but aren't my baskets going to be decreasing because they are falling down? We started here and then we ended up way over here. So that would be true. As the distance from the goal decreases, the number of baskets increases. So now we're looking at it differently. As the distance of the goal decreases. So my distance from the goal is decreasing. So that means if I'm looking at it the other way, the number of baskets are increasing. That's also true. As the distance from the goal decreases, so as the distance decreases, the number of baskets decreases. That would be false, because we already said above that as the distance is decreasing, the number of baskets is increasing. So the closer you stand to the net, the more probability of you getting a basket and scoring a basket. So a point that does not fit the overall pattern is called an outlier, and we had that outlier here. Clustering occurs when the pattern has distinct or separate groups of points. So this, we have a cluster here. We have a point above, a cluster above, and a cluster below. So when those clusters are groups of points all together, we call them clusters. Okay, so those are the clusters.